Hello there, everyone. Patricia here. And today I want to talk about the time for preparing for a career transition is right now. And oh my gosh, so much to share with that. We probably are not going to get through all of it today. It's something that I've shared about a lot in the past, so link in the um, I will link in the notes some of my old coffee time career chats where we discuss some of those things, but I want to bring some of this up to date right now for what's relevant for today. But before we dive into all of that, please make sure to hit the thumbs up and like the video and subscribe to the channel so that we can push things out to more people who will be interested in these conversations, who may have questions like yourself, and make sure that it's accessible to as many people as possible who are looking to, particularly women who are looking to um, grow themselves personally and professionally, but to do it in a sustainable way that helps them take care of themselves. So that's the focus of this revived channel. Okay, so here's the thing. I I do executive coaching, empowerment coaching, all in the career development space, right? So when people are looking to make a change in their career, in their business, people sometimes don't think of their business as their career, but it absolutely is. If you've decided to invest your money and your time in a specific business that you own, that is your new career. So when I talk about career development, I'm talking about all of those things because you become your own, CEO, executive director, executive, uh, uh, whatever it might be, whatever title you've given yourself, you've become that. And you need to make sure that you are building that career in a way that's sustainable so that you can continue to have a successful business, or you can work for someone else and engage in the work that you care about. And here's the thing, one of the things that I have always advocated for with folks who come to me looking for help with a transition from one job to the next, or trying to figure out what it is they're doing, I'm like, plan ahead. Do not think that when you decide, you know what, I'm ready to quit, I can't take this anymore, or hello, God forbid, you're about to be fired, laid off, whatever, and then decide, okay, this is the time for me to scramble around and make a plan, because that's exactly what's going to happen. There's going to be a scramble. Wise decisions are not made during a scramble most of the time. Those decisions are made out of fear, desperation, um, anxiety, right? And guess what? Sometimes you can have a little bit of that even when it's a good situation. Let's say you're being asked to join another company and you weren't expecting it, and now you're trying to figure out should you move or not, right? Well, you're like, how can you plan for that? You can. Because when you are looking at your career as a full living, breathing thing and not just one job to the next, that's when you approach it from a completely different standpoint. It's just a completely different view on how you approach things, because it's a bigger picture, right? It's a bigger picture. Here are the things that I want to do or accomplish in my life. What are the types of positions that will help me get there? What are the types of experiences that will help me get there, right? This is a part, and just FYI, this is a part of what I do when I'm working with folks, when we're building out uh, a career action plan is what I call them. That's what we're doing. It's not because you're trying to say, I'm going to do this and this and this, and then jump to that, because it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And when we have the quote luxury of time, because when things start happening and they start happening fast, you really quickly learn that time is extremely valuable and very, there's not a lot of it. There's not a lot of it. Like, that is the one thing you cannot control. You cannot control time. But it always was always so sad for me to see folks who I have worked with, folks who wanted to work with me, but then they're like, they hedged. I'm like, well, no, not right now. I don't have the money right now, or I don't think that that's necessary right now. Or folks who get to a certain point of it, they've made the invested in themselves, but then they're like, yeah, but I don't really have to think about that right now. And then 6 months passes, time's gone. Things have changed and there's no plan in place, but things are happening around them that's now forcing the issue, right? Some Clearly, absolutely, you cannot plan for everything that's going to happen. Making that trust you me, I absolutely know this because there are multiple things that happened to me, both good and not so good, throughout my career that I never would have planned for. I never even would have anticipated them. However, I did think about some of these things, even if it happened in a way that I would not have preferred, right? I did not anticipate. Well, let me back up. For example, I definitely saw that maybe sometime in the future that I would work for myself, that I would do some independent consulting, have all this lovely little, oh, it'll be so lovely, that mindset about it. And that, little bit of, what's the word, when you romanticizing it. There you go. Because I was watching the other people and whatever, not realizing how much work it took, and or what it would look like to be thrown into that, because that is what happened for me. I dare say 10 years before I ever wanted it to happen, I got tossed into it, right? There was a change at the office where I worked. I was in basically a political position. And it's like, well, I wasn't planning on doing this right now, not with two small kids and, so many things being uncertain. And that is how I started doing consulting. I was doing legislative consulting, policy consulting, those types of things, and a little bit of lawyering. And that I absolutely. Did I see it for myself? Yes. Did I see it for myself happening at that time? No. So was there some discomfort and some, absolutely, and I had to get up to speed very quickly. But the difference was that I did see it for myself, just not at that time. And so that challenged me to be even more specific in some of my thought processes moving forward. Because even then, even though I was started doing some of that work, I was still thinking I would go back to a quote regular 9 to 5. And 15 years later, that's still not happening. What is it? No, it's 16 years this year. 16 years later, that has not happened. Not from a lack of trying, or not from a lack of opportunities to pursue, but they didn't pan out. They weren't the right thing, and they looked like they were the right thing. So that left room for a lot of, yes, flexibility, but uncertainty as well. And I struggled with that for quite some time, until I had to learn to be like, you know what, I am fine with where I am and what I'm doing. Let me nail down and get serious about it. And if something, fabulous comes up that is a no-brainer of something I should pursue, fine, I will pursue it. But right now I'm focused on this. Here's the plan. Here's the plan for continuing to do this independent consulting and what it shifts. And another thing, even with that, I did not anticipate the shift even in that work, right? But being flexible and open to it and adjusting the plan, it works. Because the goal is to continue to engage in executive level strategy, to engage in higher level facilitation and conversations, and to use all of that background and skills that I had to use it in the work that I saw moving forward. And as long as that was happening, I'm good with it. Right. So that is the plan. It wasn't that I had a specific, uh, a specific title or something in mind, because, I changed that and whatever often, but it was the work that I wanted to do and making sure that it was aligned with where my life was evolving to all along the way. Right? Because when I started, my kids were little. Now my kids are in college, having lives of their own, and things have changed drastically. The situation around me has changed drastically, and yet at the core, there's still some things that I'm doing that I love and I enjoy, and now it's a matter of like finessing it and refining it. But you can't do that. You can't refine nothing. You can't refine smoke. If you don't take time to actually think through what your potential possibilities might be, that's why when it happens, if you get the call into the office for a promotion or for, saying thanks, but no thanks, we've got to move on, you're not prepared because you haven't thought about either way. And so sometimes people think, transition is all about, oh, when something bad happens. No, you can be just as unprepared for a transition up. I've had a couple of those situations where, when I was about to I had taken on a new role already at one of the agencies that I worked for, creating this new office that didn't exist before, had some, limited resources, but had access to a lot of opportunities, all of that. I was fine. I was there. And then this whole other thing happened out in the world in the process, and an agency function that had been out on its own for 10 years was moved back into the larger agency where I worked. And there became conversations about, well, who's going to lead this? Because it was a mess. There were so many moving parts to it. And then in passing, I hear someone say, well, yeah, I mean, Patricia would be great for that. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm just here to offer ideas. I had no clue that my name had already been put out into the world in the decision makers' minds. It had already been floated and was pretty much decided Patricia's going to run this. I didn't go after it. I wasn't trying to. So by the time I got brought in, I'm like, oh, okay. And that was a major shift. It was a major shift. So your transition can be for better or it can be for not so better, as far as the causation of it. Doesn't matter. The question is, what are you doing to prepare for something right now? What's your plan? What would be your dream for things to happen? What would be worst case scenario? If a worst case scenario were to happen, what would you do? What skills do you have that you can leverage to keep you afloat while you work through the next thing? Do you just need a vacation and really need to plan some time and some money to set aside so that if you're going to transition, that you make sure that you have time to decompress before you start the new thing? Most people are not thinking about this. And clearly, I'm talking about some higher level stuff, right? When you are at professional level, when you're owning a business, all of these things still apply. And if you think it doesn't apply to you because like, well, I'm not making that kind of money, that's not going to help me, that doesn't apply. Keep living. Keep living, because transition help happens for everybody at some point in time. The question is, what are you going to do when it happens? Are you going to be struggling and running around like a chicken with your head cut off because you gave no thought to what could happen if this did ever happen to you? Or are you like, well, not exactly the way I planned for that to happen, but let's go? Two totally different responses. The other thing that really happens, besides not having given any thought to what transition might look like professionally for yourself, the other thing that people really like fall down on the job on with it is underestimating how long the transition is going to take. This is a big one. And quite frankly, the more money you make or want to make, potentially the longer it's going to take. Because the higher you go up the food chain, the more specific needs or specific positions you're looking for. And sometimes the thing you're looking for doesn't exist. And so, what does that mean? You need to help create it. Blows people's minds when I tell them this, even to this day, with some very well experienced folks. And they're like, what do you mean create it? I'm like, create it. You go look at organizations, do an assessment of where they are, what they have, and then identify, I'm like, but you have a gap right there. And say, here's how I can come in and help you do that. But you have to be prepared for that. So, I had someone who was about to start to do some work with me, but they were like, I'm not sure. And because the transition, I was like, be mindful that the transition can take longer than you expect, right? And this was before the economy went topsy turvy. And, lucky for her, she was able to find a new position relatively quickly. I think it was like 2, maybe 3 months. I don't even think it was 3 months. But here's the thing, she tapped in to old contacts. So she ended up going to work back for an organization she had worked for before, but in a different realm and space. So she wasn't starting from scratch. Again, that's part of things you have to figure out and think about. It's like, well, is there some aspect of something I was doing before that I could tap into? It doesn't mean that it's going to be a step backwards. It may be identifying a new opportunity for you to serve where things have changed. But, people love that they can dip into someone who has tap into someone who has experience with the organization in some way and be able to move it forward, right? These are all the things you have to kind of think about. But again, doing it before you have to. And you may say, oh my gosh, that sounds so complicated. It's not. I've done trainings on it. I've got one. I'll look and put the career action plan workshop, masterclass, in the links. I'll try to remember to do that. It's not. It requires you making an effort. Bottom line, like you have to make an effort. You have to decide, I'm not going to be doing this in a reactive mode. I want to be proactive. And so that means you have to take those steps. Well, it's like, again, a lot of times the excuse is, well, I don't have the money for big coaching and all of that. You have what you desire to have, right? I come across this. I've had that money mindset issue down through the years. But the bottom line is we make time and we make space for what it is we want to make time and space for. And being willing and open to pursuing varying things of it. I have lower cost things. I have a career uh, guide that I developed years ago. It's still out there. You can pick it up for a small fee, and it literally has a whole thing for you to work through independently. Not expensive, but it will take you through a lot of it, and also give you access to some of my my uh, coffee time career chat libraries already identified for you. You don't have to go digging through stuff. right? There's that. There's, career transition workshop. Like there are things, and these are just the things that I've created, right? And other resources that you're like, well, but what if I want to work with you? Well, reach out. But it doesn't happen if you don't take the steps, if you don't do the work, if you don't believe that it's possible to pursue something different. I'm always so excited to see that happen. That transition from questioning whether it's even possible to seeing the doors start to open for people. Oh my goodness. That is the stuff that I dream for to happen for my clients, for the people I speak with, when I do presentations, all of that, because I know it's possible. Absolutely know it's possible. It's not what I think it's possible or what might happen. It's what I know is possible when you do the work and open yourself up to make the plan ahead of time, not waiting till it's too late. Can you do something in reactive mode? Yes. And generally it's going to be a little bit tougher. It's going to be a little bit tougher because it's going to do a number on your head. It's going to mess with your head some, and it's going to be okay. But the time for planning for a career transition is right now. And you can say, "Oh my gosh, but things are so crazy in the world right now. People are losing their jobs left and right. The economy is, taking a tumble. It's just nuts." Yup, it sure is. And you still need to do it. Still, I'm hardcore about it. You still got to do it. Baby steps. Prepare. You don't know how long things are going to happen. You don't know what new opportunities are going to come out of. That's one of those things. There is actual research that's done. That do you know that some of the biggest companies that exist today were developed in economic downturns? It happens all the time. It happens all the time. So the question is, are you looking for those things or for those opportunities? Are you preparing yourself to be available to what they are? And I'm not talking about all that AI stuff. Unless you're in technology and certain specific things, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about things that affect, quote, regular everyday people and the work that they've been doing and that they're building towards, right? Not the trendy stuff, but some things with some footing. Am I being snotty? Maybe a little bit, maybe just a little bit. Because are some of those things from the past people are like questioned? Absolutely. I'm not saying you shouldn't pursue, but you need to leave yourself open to fresh opportunities because you don't know what they're going to look like. You don't know what you're going to look like. Even the things that are going on right now that seem so hot or whatever, like they're going to be old news. What's on the horizon for the next, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Where can you be utilized? Where do you want to be utilized? Right? That thinking about what that could potentially be starts right now. And here's the thing, and other things that can hit and come out of nowhere are not even just the transitions that result because of the position you're in or a position you're moving to or the business you're starting to create, but it can become transitions come as a result of family matters as well, health crises, aging parents, children who are, you know, young and getting older or whatever, like their needs have shifted. So it may open you up to being able to do some more things, or it may limit some more, right? There's so many other things that play into what a career transition can look like, not just the job itself, but life. Life transitions often go hand in hand with career transitions because they drive it. They will definitely drive it. right? So I just encourage you to think about that. I look forward to hearing some questions that you may have about it. Hit me up in the DMs, in the comments. I really would love to hear more about what that looks like for you. And I will try to make sure and link up several of the resources that I already have. And then there's some that are on the horizon that haven't been built out, and I need to finish building them out so that they're available to you all. But in any case, I'm absolutely here. I'll be checking the comments and the DMs. And I want to hear your thoughts about what scares you the most about transitioning? What are the things you're looking forward to? What excites you about it? Um, where are you uncomfortable? I want to hear all of those things because those help me to answer questions that will feed back into you all as we continue these conversations, because this transition thing is not going anywhere. It's going to be here for a minute. And so I really want to make sure that folks are prepared to engage fully, not just willy nilly. Not just willy nilly. All right. Okay. So if you caught us at the end or whatever, make sure you hit thumbs up, like, and subscribe. And I encourage you, as I always do, to remember that celebrating you is a power move. So figure out what it is, that thing you need to celebrate about yourself, for yourself, right now, here today, and for the next week, and then go do it. All right. Take care, and we will talk again tomorrow. Bye bye.